I priced my first branding project for $800. Then my last branding project was priced at $23,000. One huge factor that led to this growth for me was learning how people perceive sales and pricing. Now, if you're someone who's also thinking about how to charge higher fees, or is it the right time for you to increase your pricing, or wouldn't you turn your prospects away if you suddenly 3x your pricing, then this episode is for you. I want to share with you 3 psychology tips that you can use if you want to make more profit by charging 3x higher so you can make better sales. The first one would be price anchoring. Let me tell you a bit of a story. My wife and I once visited a high-end fashion brand store when we went to Singapore. When we entered, there was a bag that cost $7,500. And I'm not sure about you, but for guys and husbands like me, that's a price that if you just think about bags, that's kind of high, right? I know female or women would have a different perception, but anyway, it was right in the aisle of the entry that no one would miss it. It's literally the first thing customers would see and would be curious about when they visit that store. Because of that, the other products priced between $1,000 to $5,000 appeared relatively cheaper. When I started learning about sales and understanding psychology, I realized that that was an intentional sales strategy. They set up a high priced anchor so everything else can be perceived as quote unquote more affordable. That is an interesting psychology because the first price that you say or the first price that's mentioned or introduced gets stuck in the brain and it becomes an anchor. So you can use this when pricing your service. You want to have one option that is priced so high, it becomes an anchor. In my case, I've had sales conversations where I would include like $100,000 option. With, of course, it has to have some teeth and you can play around how you could price it at that point or whatever is more comfortable with you. But the point is always have a high price anchor. So that sets up the premise on how the other options that you have can be perceived. So that's price anchoring, a really interesting one. Another sales psychology tip that I could give you would be loss aversion. This is a cognitive bias that suggests that the pain of losing is twice as powerful than the pleasure of gaining. What does that mean in layman's sales language? If you include a scarcity element in your sales offer, it makes it more attractive to the buyer. Or you can also include a feature in one option, but exclude it in another. Let me give you a tangible example for this. Like one of my clients is a ghostwriter. So let's say if you sell ghostwriting with your introductory package, wherein you basically write content for your clients, you can add a bonus. It could be like a profile redesign in another package. That brings a loss effect. Because if they choose one option, they're losing out on an extra benefit or perk. And thinking they would lose an additional benefit, value, or perk is painful to their brains. What this does is it helps your prospect take action and buy from you. Because again, the loss aversion states that when you're about to lose something, it's more painful than when you're about to gain something from something else. I hope that's making sense. So I tried to make it more layman in discussion, but the loss aversion is really a tactic that you can use if you're putting out different options, or if you want to like test if you increase your pricing, will this be palatable, and you want to like sort of navigate and mitigate that risk. This is one tip that you can use. The third psychology tip that I want to share with you, and this is probably one of my favorites among the three, would be the magic of three. So that's a play on word there. So it's a sales tactic that I've used in scaling my agency, and that this led me to developing like what I call the offer tier system. It's almost become a rule in our firm to offer at least 3 solution options to every prospect. Why? Because one is a zero-sum decision. If you send me one offer right now, I would think in this way: if I decide to get this, will this benefit me? But what if I check the other competitors and see what they have to offer? So if you send one option, the risk of the decision becomes higher, that the prospect would be compelled to pit you against another available option. While 3 is a magic number. Because if you send 3 offer options, the decision dynamic becomes easier. Because now the prospect would be thinking, okay, I was given these 3 options. Which one makes the most sense to me? So, and because there's 3 options, it allows them to process it within themselves and within the parameters of what you sent them. So if you send 3 offer options, people can also easily remember the number 3, and they can retain 3 things in their head. That's why we have things like as easy as ABC, there's do, re, mi, there's 1, 2, 3. You get the point, right? So if you want to like increase the level of your pricing, you should not only focus about selling it, but you should also shift your attention to the psychology behind how you're selling it. If you master sales psychology, and if you apply just these 3 sales psychology tips, raising your sales, raising your prices to 3x would be very, very feasible. And I can say that with conviction and confidence because I've seen that happen in my own agency, and I've seen that happen in my own consulting and coaching business. Now, if you want some tailor-fit, personalized help in terms of installing the offer tier system, so you go out with your prospects not having only one solution option, but installing the offer tier system so that you can charge higher fees, you can grow your revenues, you can make more sales without the risk of being rejected by your prospects because all of a sudden you're charging higher fees. Then you can work with me one-on-one with my 60-minute sales consult. Or if you're interested to work with me in a much more comprehensive way, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or send me an email, and I'll be happy to explore talking to you and see where I can help. So I hope you found some really valuable insights from this conversation. Thank you again for being here, and see you in the next one.